Welcome back to the channel. My name is Saskia, and today I'm going to walk you through how I sign clients without needing to do sales calls. Now, this is likely for you if you currently spend most days stuck on sales calls or trying to book more calls. You're getting your time wasted by no-showers or unqualified leads who will never buy from you, and you've likely been told that it's the only way to sign premium clients. And while that might be true to some degree because it can work, I'm here to tell you that there's a better way to grow your business and one that will give you time back in your day. But I want to give you a bit of context first because I've helped over 30 founders build and sell high-ticket offers and help them book 5 to 10 sales calls a week. And that's what I was doing in my previous offer until I discovered a much simpler way to sell premium offers. And after burning out doing lead gen, I'm now rebuilding a business without needing to rely on sales calls using the exact methods I'm about to show you. Now, most coaches think that sales calls are just a necessary step of signing clients, something you have to do to sell your high-ticket offers. But that's just not true. And I'm going to show you a better way to sell that brings you high-quality leads, pre-sells them on you and your offer, and unlocks free space in your calendar while you sign ideal fit clients without needing to be stuck on calls with time wasters who will never buy and waiting for no-shows. But before I get into that, if you're filling your calendar with sales calls and the very sight of it depresses you, I've got a free framework for you that walks you through qualifying and selling directly in the DMs instead. Click the link in the description to check it out. All right, so every coach is taught the same playbook. Build an audience, book calls, close on the call. It's positioned as the only way to grow, especially for high ticket and premium offers. We never question it because it's what worked when most of us were starting out, me included. But there's a few problems with this. Firstly, it's a very sales heavy approach. The gold standard to aim for is a calendar packed full of back-to-back discovery calls where you mostly get rejected or have a low close rate. A lot of the time is taken away from high leverage work, which is another way it's costing the business. And you probably just hate doing them, which is fair. Ultimately, it requires a lot of volume to grow. Secondly, there's no pre-built trust. So when you're on the call, conversations start cold because people don't really know you. So you're doing the trust building and the selling live on the call, which usually leads to pressure tactics. People maybe aren't ready to buy yet. And you have to do a lot of objection handling, which who has the time or the energy to do? Thirdly, there's a lot of skepticism around sales and sales calls in general. Audience are typically sales resistant now, and the idea or the suggestion of hopping on a call is a trigger in itself. And people are very resistant to that at the moment because they've been burned before by pushy sales calls or offers that let them down. And like I said, they don't really want to be pushed into something that they don't feel ready to take action on yet. And finally, there's just not an inherent need for it. Your best fit prospects, your premium buyers, those who are established, busy, already successful, they're often the least likely to want to sit on a call and be sold to, when all they want from you is just that upfront clarity on what they're getting and proof that you can actually help them. Think back to when you've likely made a large investment or a purchase without needing to hop on a call with someone. It's not always needed. So we have the old way that relies heavily on what we call sales-based conversion, which requires a lot of volume and persuasion tactics that most people are now resistant to. Whereas the new way primarily uses marketing-based conversion, which is done through strategic positioning of you and your offer, being crystal clear on who exactly you serve, and building huge amounts of upfront trust and pre-selling them in your content. So I'm going to show you 2 ways that we can sign clients without needing sales calls through this method. Option 1, content. Here is where you pre-sell people on you, your offer, in your short form and your long form content. Ideally, we want to use long form content like your YouTube videos and email newsletters, because this will really accelerate the trust building process. This also gets prospects to buy into you before ever needing to talk to you, because you've built that trust and a strong parasocial relationship with them. I was able to do this through one of my posts on LinkedIn, where it did quite well for me anyway, my version of viral, I guess. And I got a lot of interaction from it. And as a result, was able to speak to 23 qualified leads just from that one post. So it just goes to show how much posting content about you and your offer can really build that trust up front with people. However, there is a caveat to this and using the content approach, because for this to work, you need crystal clear clarity on who you're speaking to, so your ideal client, so that you can attract your target audience through magnetic content. And you also need a content bank. So for this, I mean around 7 hours of consumable content. This comes from the 7-11-4 framework made famous by Daniel Priestley in his book Oversubscribed, which is based on the consumer behavior research done by Google previously. And the way it works is to build trust and to get a stranger to buy from you, they'll need around 7 hours of content. So they'll need to consume around 7 hours of your content. So that's the cumulative time spent consuming your videos, your podcasts, newsletters. Maybe they've attended a webinar of yours, or even short form posts, whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram or anything like that. That will need to be across 11 touch points. So 11 individual reactions or micro moments, and across 4 separate locations. So platforms or channels. So it could be your social media content, your newsletter, website, even in-person events or DMs. So you want around 7 hours of consumable content. That's kind of the benchmark before this reliably replaces sales calls on its own. So until you build that content bank up, you may still need to do sales calls to convert a high ticket offer where a lot of trust is required, especially while you're still learning your audience, because having calls with them is where you'll get the direct language that they use, that you can then use in your sales and your marketing to attract them in your content. An example of me doing this was from actually that post that I showed you. I managed to sign a paid in full client without needing a sales call, and it was all through the DMs. And this was quite early on in my coaching offer, so it is possible still. But there is a sneaky way around this that we can use so that you can still sign clients without having to do sales calls. And we do this through a micro offer. How it works is that you extract a portion of your core high ticket program and you package it as a smaller transformation that you can deliver in about 4 to 6 weeks. And you sell it at a lower price to make it a no-brainer offer. This creates a stepping stone in the client journey. So instead of you trying to sell them directly from a stranger to a core client in your high ticket program, you instead have a middle point where they become a customer first, and then you over deliver on value relative to their investment. And this is what builds that trust fast. We can then upsell them to the core program 1 to 2 weeks before the micro offer wraps up, and once that trust is earned. So I call this the seamless ascension ladder, which is what I teach in my core program, where we basically have the micro offer, we generate results and build that trust with them to then upsell them into the core program, and they're more likely to convert because they've already seen a lot of value from you for a relatively low investment. And the best part of all of it is that because it's a lower medium ticket investment, it can be sold directly via an offer doc with no call required. So you can send an offer doc in the DMs. Here's just an example of one of my offer docs. This is a more comprehensive one, but you can even do something simpler like a 1-page Notion doc. The main thing is that you explain the transformation and what people are going to get in the time frame, and just make it as simple as possible to avoid any kind of confusion so that they are more likely to buy. An example of how this worked for me is my recent summer cohort, where I'm helping founders build a simple client acquisition system over 4 weeks to help them attract and convert clients without needing to post more or do cold outreach. And through this offer doc, I was able to sign clients directly through the DMs. And these are just some screenshots to show you that. So why this solves the problem? It removes the trust building burden that we have when we go on a sales call with someone. And if you need a call for the upsell, it usually becomes just a formality, not a persuasion exercise, which is preferred by everyone involved. It means you can quickly filter out unqualified leads before they take any of your time. And it gives you your calendar and your time back, which is the whole point. Now, if you want to take this further, I would recommend that you prepare a short list of pre-qualifying questions to ask people in the DMs before anyone gets the offer link or you invite them to a call. that's just in general, because it helps filter out the time wasters and warms people up before you make the ask. I would also prepare a clear CTA at the end of the qualifying sequence, so you have the invite ready for when people want to learn more or they want to find out how to work with you. And as an optional upgrade, you can automate the part of the qualifying sequence. You can do this through ManyChat on Instagram, for example. So it runs without you manually having to reply to every single DM, which then means you can sign clients and collect payments without needing much effort from you at all. And that's it. You can pre-sell through your content when you understand your audience and you have a clear picture as to who you're speaking to. So you can attract ideal fit clients through your magnetic content and set up a sequence to qualify them in the DM and sell them directly to your high ticket program through your offer doc. Or you can build a micro offer that gets people in the door before you ever need a call. Either way, you convert them through an offer doc and you end up having close to an empty calendar where you have all your time back. Now, if you want to start closing directly in the DMs, or maybe you still actually prefer doing sales calls, but you want a better way to pre-qualify and avoid speaking to time wasters, then I've put together a free framework that helps you do this. And you can click the link in the description to get it. And if you're looking for more one-to-one support to help you build this out in your business, that's exactly what we do inside the Autonomy Collective. To learn more, just DM me 347 on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I can talk you through that. And if you're sitting there wondering, how do I actually find qualified prospects in my audience to sell my offer to in the DMs? Well, I made a whole video on how exactly I found 48 warm leads in my existing audience and the system I use to filter them by who's more likely to buy. So go watch that next. I will see you in the next one.